Is Usman Garuba ready to accept a bigger role than what he had with Real Madrid with the Houston Rockets, the chemistry of the young Houston Rockets, and more coming up in just a moment right here at Locked On Rockets.
It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is Mission Control, Houston.
Ignition sequence start.
I've been preparing for this all my life.
Here's Porter on hard and taking him to school.
What a great play by Jae'Sean.
KJ Martin climbed Bobon Mountain.
T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal.
And you've seen tonight that we fought together, we stayed together, and it's about damn time, man.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's up, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Rockets, the best and only daily podcast covering your Houston Rockets. As always, I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, native Houstonian and partner at Apollo Media. Be sure to follow along on Twitter at JT Gatlin, the show, of course, at Locked On Rockets, as well as at Apollo HOU. Now, joining us, we got a lot of topics to cover today. Want to dive into Usman Garuba specifically, as well as some other general thoughts about the Houston Rockets. And here to do that with me is none other than the Athletics' Alykhan Bijani. What's up, Alykhan? How you doing?
Hey, Jackson. Been a minute. How are you?
Been a minute.
I heard you were playing Where's Waldo with me, trying to figure out where I was. But I'm glad that you were able to locate me on the page. That's good.
I am too. I'm excited. We got you back into the fold, and hopefully we'll get you back on a little bit more of a regular basis. I know that you are a busy man, and it's hard to track you down sometimes. But Rockets fans love hearing from you. They love your insight, and it's great that we got you back. Now with that, we're going to get into talking about Usman Garuba a little bit and kind of diving into some specifics on him. He had some commentary speaking to a Spanish newspaper about wanting to accept a bigger role with the Houston Rockets, wanting to take on more than what he was essentially able to do with Real Madrid. But before we get there, Alykhan, we talked just before Summer League started for the Houston Rockets. We haven't talked since. Hit me with some of your general takeaway or two that you have from Rockets Summer League, since we haven't had a chance to talk since then.
So I'll go down the list on each of the first round picks. Josh Christopher, very raw. I don't really know what to make of him just yet. He showed some great flashes defensively. There was a stat I put out there that he allowed like 1 point per possession, or 1 point for like 9 possessions, or some sort of like a really crazy stat about him defensively. I mean, he had a really terrific time just kind of guarding the perimeter. And also I really liked how he was off the ball, being a communicator, kind of setting the defense, calling out coverages and all those different things. I mean, he did a great job there. So that's good. Offensively, he hits some mid-range shots, but I don't know what he is offensively, but he's 19 years old. There's plenty of time for him to figure that out. I think he is a prime candidate to spend a lot of time in the G League, which will be good for him to be able to figure out what is his game. The Rockets kind of have an idea what his strength is. Rafael Sun has talked about him being in transition, but is he a guard? And by a guard, I mean, is he a point guard? Is he a wing, or is he a shooting guard? I mean, what is his role, right? We have guards, wings, and bigs. And for me, I'm going to be interested to see, ideally in his size, he can play either guard or wing, and I'm interested to see, kind of how he grows in that role. And he's only 19; he'll probably grow a little bit more early on in his career, as we saw with Kevin Porter Jr. this offseason. Let's go down to Jalen Green. Man, that dude is terrific. I was very impressed. A lot of Rockets fans have given me grief for the article I wrote on, if I had to choose between Evan Mobley and Jalen Green. I ended up putting Evan Mobley, but, Jalen Green really did impress me. I really, liked what I saw from him, especially off the ball. When he didn't have the ball in his hands, he was engaged. He was able to maintain optimal spacing. The way that Will Weaver coached the Summer League wasn't really about, deep types of concepts or very elite or expert level concept. It was a very rudimentary kind of just basic structures of the offense. And I think, the fact that he was following that and he did a good job of it, bodes well for him when he's playing alongside John Wall and Kevin Porter Jr. and Aaron Gordon. Let's go to Garuba. and I won't talk too much about him since we're going to be talking about him a lot more in a bit. But, interesting. That's all I'm going to say. Interesting. I don't think the Rockets know enough to make of what he is or who he is because of his summer league game. I think they have an idea from his time in the EuroLeague, but he's an interesting prospect. Now, last but not least, I guess everybody's fan favorite, everybody's favorite player from summer league, Alykhan Şengün. He showed some flashes to me defensively as a 5 that I didn't think he had. I knew he had some length, but he did show some athleticism. Ability to not only play in drop coverage, but slide his feet and block a shot. I mean, it's pretty impressive, especially for a rookie like that. He had multiple plays like that where he had his hands high, hands up, did not lean onto a ball handler who's trying to draw a foul, just stayed vertical and was able to contest a lot of shots around the rim. I think that was pretty good to see from him there. On switches, obviously, that's something he needs to improve upon, but just for his body side, I think he did a good job there. And then offensively, I really like him as a passer. He's so patient. He knows as soon as the double team comes, there is an opening on the weak side, and he does a great job of diagnosing and finding that passing lane really quickly. So all in all, those are my quick just thoughts on all 4, and we'll get into Garuba shortly. But do you agree with anything I said, Jackson? Anything that kind of stood out to you that maybe I think differently?
Yeah, well, on the points, since obviously Garuba is just, right now interesting until we dive into him a little bit further. Not much to add on to that one, but I think it's I love the fact that you bring up, what is Josh Christopher at this point, because I've been kind of selling myself less so on the idea of Josh Christopher, the guard, and more so the idea of Josh Christopher, the wing. And one of the comparisons that I've made is that as far as body type goes, he and David Nwaba actually have a very similar physique and build. And even right now, at just 19 years old, Josh Christopher only weighs, at least his listed weight, is only about 10 pounds lighter, I think, the last I checked, compared to David Nwaba. And so you look at a guy who's, a terror in transition like that, who has the defensive instincts and skill set there. I think it's a really interesting comp to maybe say, well, maybe he's not fit as a guard at the NBA level, but maybe you advertise him as a wing and suddenly it's a completely different mindset, different approach to the game for him. So I think that's interesting. I definitely agree with your take that Jalen Green is fantastic. And then Al P, right? His defense absolutely stood out. And these are going to be guys that you and I take some time to break apart in the future to really kind of hone in on areas that they need to either improve in or areas that we're expecting them to grow and really work on. And we're going to do all of that in future episodes. But today we want to get to Usman Garuba, and we're going to get to him and his specific comments to Marca, the Spanish newspaper, in just a moment after a quick message from our friends over at betonline.ag. It's that time of year and all eyes are turning towards football, both professional and collegiate. And as always, BetOnline is your number one spot for all the pro and college football action this season. Get all the updated odds, props, and contests, including online's biggest $500,000 NFL mega contest and the world's largest 200,000 NFL survivor contest, open now at BetOnline. Head over to their website and use promo code LOCKEDON for a 100% welcome bonus. Again, it is a 100% welcome bonus on your very first deposit with BetOnline. You don't want to miss out. Don't sit on the sidelines anymore. It's time for you to get in on the action. And again, use that promo code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, for a 100% welcome bonus on your very first deposit. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. And another message from our friends at rockauto.com. Because look, with the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it's basically impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts that your car or truck needs. Why would you want to endure all this questioning and all? Just go online to rockauto.com where you're going to save money. Why would you want to spend up to 30, 50, or even 100% more for the exact same car parts that you would at a traditional brick and mortar storefront, right? Rock Auto, not only that, you're going to save money, but Rock Auto is a family business. They've been serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. So if you know anything about cars and you just need the parts and then you know how to fix all your own stuff, then just save the money, order the parts from rockauto.com. The prices are reliably low for every single customer. They don't charge DIY guys more than traditional brick and mortar shops, right? It doesn't make sense, right? There's no reason to pay more. And the best part is their website is so easy to navigate, so easy to figure out exactly the brands and specifications that you need for your car or truck. And this is the part that's really important, right? Do me a favor. When you're checking out their website, checking out their catalog, when you go to hit the shopping cart icon and you go to check out, be sure to write Locked On in there. How did you hear about us box so that they know that we sent you? Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. Be sure to visit rockauto.com. And continuing on here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. Let's discuss Usman Garuba, Alykhan. Now, with Garuba, he took the time to speak recently to Marca, Spanish newspaper, essentially, and they asked, he answered a couple questions here as it pertains to what we want to discuss and kind of take apart and try and extract some information here. Is when asked what he wants to improve upon as an NBA rookie in the upcoming 2021-2022 season, Garuba explained, he basically, paraphrasing here, he wants to have the ball in his hands more, right? He didn't really get a chance to do that with Real Madrid. That says that, he had to adapt to the role there based on the types of players that they had in that locker room. And so he's really looking forward to being able to do more things with the Houston Rockets. He goes on to discuss the Rockets and their current rebuilding state as a team and says, I'm on a team that is undergoing reconstruction with many young players who are going to be giving a lot of prominence. Our key is going to be to improve day by day, and that's my goal as well, to go day by day working and improving many aspects that I wasn't able to do these past few years due to the demands of Real Madrid. So, Alykhan, what's your first reaction to this? Because this is something that you and I discussed a little bit when we were first kind of thinking about Usman Garuba originally was, right, he didn't have a gigantic role within Real Madrid. He was, tasked with doing a few very specific things, but we also discussed the fact that, the idea that he's even playing for Real Madrid at this age was so phenomenal. I mean, Rafael Stone called him the best defender in the world, not in the NBA, and for good reason. We saw a lot of that on display just in these past Olympics.
So I'm going to go through kind of just some stats that stick out about Usman, especially in EuroLeague. He is 6'8". We always forget he plays so much bigger than he is. I mean, that wingspan is really electric. He's only 6'8". He only scored around 5 points a game in 17 minutes. He's a career 26.5% three-point shooter, but he did shoot 31% this past season on about 3 attempts per game. And 50-60% free throw shooter from the free throw line. So, that's just something offensively to think about. But he isn't somebody who I would say has a lot of offensive responsibility. He was just tasked with kind of just being a screener, a primary floor spacer in spots, which we kind of saw here in Summer League in Vegas. But if he's going to take that role and he's going to be able to make an impact, for me, he has to do a good job of using his wide frame that he has as a screener. When you have a wingspan, and for him, because he is large, he's very strong, that is an advantage. You can set screens and you can make your frame wide enough where you're allowing that guard to have navigation, easy navigation and good angles to kind of maneuver around. Ultimately, the way NBA defenses are playing nowadays, they are playing that drop coverage, or they are playing kind of weak. And when I use the word weak, it's called up to touch. It's a scheme essentially when you're forcing the ball handler to go to the left side. So a lot of ball handlers are usually right-handed players, right? So you're forcing them to go left. And if that's the case, you want, and that's the defense that the teams are playing, you want a good screener who can allow you to rescreen and also give your ball handler enough space to maneuver around, especially when players go over the screen. So I think in this case, Garuba can have that big role if he can take that step, and he showed some really good flashes, in my opinion, in the G League when it comes to screening. But he has to get better as a role man. Ultimately, when the ball is coming his way on those bounce passes, those quick bounce passes, he has to go up quickly. Whenever he's driving to the rim, he has to go quickly. He was good in transition in EuroLeague. I would have liked to see him do a little bit better, but he has to be able to not only do that, but do it consistently. If he does that, he'll get some. He'll do a lot better in terms of his role. But that's just, at least for right now, kind of where I want him to work on. Shooting will come. I mean, ultimately, he's shooting 60%, which obviously not really good for a big, but it says 60%. He can hopefully get better. Shooting-wise, when I saw his shot, it's not bad. I mean, I'm not going to say it's the best shot, but it's not bad. I think it's workable. He is 6'8", So he has the ability to become a better shooter with his size and with his wingspan and length. It's just really going to come down to, can he grow into enough of an offensive weapon? I don't want to say weapon, but can he grow into as much of an offensive threat to justify playing 5 out? Because ultimately, Jackson, right now, I don't think he's a 5 person. He can't defend all 5 positions right now. I think he can defend 1 through 4. The 5 he can, but only if they're playing small ball against a different team. And when we saw him in EuroLeague, what made him such a good, outstanding defender and somebody who's very valuable, especially to the Rockets, was the fact that he was guarding primarily as a defensive weapon the opposing team point guard. And so that's important. When you can guard, a guy like Shane Larkin, who's a really good player there, and do a good job, that stands out. And if he's going to be able to do that here, just in his last summer league game, I asked Will Weaver about that comeback against Portland. And what were some plays that stood out to him about Garuba? He mentioned there was a play where Garuba forced an air ball just because he took on the matchup of stepping up, getting into the ball handler and forcing up an air ball. And that's the type of thing they're looking at. If he can combine that and just become somewhat of an offensive threat, he's going to get a lot of time with the Rockets.
I want to keep this conversation going about Usman Garuba because there was one observation that I had, especially you bring up that final summer league game, and I want to hear your thoughts on this, Alykhan, and a comp that I have in my mind that is just staring me in the face. And we're going to get there after a quick message from our friends over at DirecTV. You got one device that lets you catch a game. You got another where you're going to stream your favorite shows, and you're watching sports highlights on your phone, and you've got your neighbor's best friend's login for everything else, right? Or your cousin or your sister, whoever, right? Well, let me tell you about a simple way to get all the entertainment you love without all of that hassle. A great way to finally get your TV together. It's called DirecTV Stream, and it brings your live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, so you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. That means no more juggling remotes, no more need to buy another device, no more need to ask your coworker for their streaming login password, right? There's no annual contract, so get rid of the clutter, get rid of the confusion, and get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at directtv.com. That's directtv.com. Compatible devices required. Content varies by package. And another message from our friends over at Built Bar, because look, when it comes to protein bars, you got to try these Built Bars because they are the best protein bar that I have ever personally consumed. Why? First off, the flavors are incredible. You got raspberry, mint chocolate brownie, salted caramel, strawberry, cookies and cream, my personal favorite, coconut brownie chunk. Can't go wrong with a single one of these bars, right? They're all incredible. Not only that, every single bar, low cal, low sugar, high protein, high fiber. Great if you're on a keto diet. Great if you're trying to, slim down a little bit, trim a little weight, all that stuff, right? Great if you're dieting. And these bars, they taste delicious. They don't taste like protein bars. They're not gritty. They're not chalky. They're fun. I look forward to eating a protein bar. I don't remember ever looking forward to eating a protein bar until I found Built Bar. And you can check it out. Just go to built.com and use promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your very next order. Again, that's promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. And final segment here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. Now, Alykhan, my main observation, even more than some of the defensive displays that we saw from Garuba in Summer League, was in that 5th Summer League game, he was facilitating the ball in a way that I wasn't expecting. And it was something that, we've kind of seen before where defense, it wasn't quite like a straight zone, although it was at times, with the Blazers kind of just occupying certain areas of the court, but they had Garuba basically in the center of the court, and he was receiving passes right there, 15 foot part, area of the lane, kind of right at the free throw line, middle of the court, and then in a split second had to make the right decision as to what to do with it. And we saw multiple times in that game, he made the right read and then kicked it back out to the open shooter, kind of, again, getting the pass in the center of the defense, collapsing the defense a little bit, and then kicking it out. He connected with Armani Brooks on a couple different passes on Armani's way to a 30-point game in that really awesome come from behind victory. But really, that's what kind of stood out to me. And the comp that I want to draw here a little bit, which other people have already kind of thrown out there, is it was a little Draymond-esque, right? The way that he was able to kind of receive those passes, make those reads. And I think there's a little bit of a hope that as he develops, especially offensively, maybe he can be the kind of big who can make some of those reads like out of the short roll, right? Take a quick dribble towards the rim, collapse the defense, and make the read and hit the guy in the corner or hit the guy on the wing, depending on where the help defender comes from, that kind of thing. So that really stood out to me in that fifth game.
When it comes to his ability to kind of make those passes, I need him to be a better ball handler. It doesn't necessarily mean that he has to run pick and roll or bring the ball up the floor. It just means that when you have the ball in your hand and you're standing stationary, you dribble it strong, and so you don't lose the basketball. You don't create a turnover. I think you're right. He has a chance to be somebody who can make those types of passes, but it comes down to when he becomes a better ball handler, he has better ball control. That's going to be very big for him. And when it comes down to kind of finding his teammates, because he has that wide frame, they can run those types of actions. They can run delay action where he's at the top of the key. They can run 21 series where he can be that option also from the perimeter. They can run their wide action, essentially him setting a flare screen for a ball handler or a shooter on the top of the key or on the perimeter. So, they have different actions where they utilize the big and their screening ability. I think he can be an asset there, but he just has to make sure that he can be consistent. And it would not surprise me if we saw him spend some time in the G League, even though I think he can be a good NBA player early on. It's just I think he needs time to get accustomed to the way the NBA game is played, and just to be able to be very comfortable there. He's played a lot as well, and so I'm interested to see how they kind of get him into it. They always let him play in the summer league, but the fact that he's played so much, even during the summer as well, how is he going to react? Do they have any sort of game plan for him and what they want to do? The coaching staff that was there in the summer league, Steven Silas himself, they're very impressed with Garuba, obviously, but he has to be able to do that consistently against NBA level competition. There's a reason why when Rafael Stone talks about him, he says he's the best defender not in the NBA. Caveat is that he was not in the NBA. He has to be able to show that he can be a good defender in the NBA for him to be able to get that playing time.
I'm really glad you bring up the G League point one more time because you mentioned it kind of earlier on, and bringing it back one more time. I've had a couple people kind of comment on social, on the YouTube comment section saying that it's disrespectful to send some of these guys to the G League, or that it's a waste of their talent. And I think absolutely not. But Alykhan, look, do me a favor. You've got, I think, slightly more than 4 times the clout that I do as far as Twitter followers and whatnot go. So maybe they'll believe you when you say it, but I think there's evidence, right? That the Rockets, when they send somebody to the G League, it's because they think that one, it's to get real game reps rather than riding the tail end of the bench, not getting real time game reps and 30 minutes a night to really hone your skills. You get a chance to do that in the G League, and there's evidence with Kevin Porter Jr., with KJ Martin, that if they send you down there, it's because A, they believe in you. 2, they run an identical system down in the G League under Coach Abdel Fattah, and they're going to get those real reps and then be able to bring what they learn and practice from the G League back up and refine their skills. And again, I think it makes perfect sense for Garuba and Christopher to both spend a little bit of time at the G League level. And I think
let's look at 2 other players who you didn't mention, but it's also a very similar case. Armani Brooks, who's everybody's fan favorite here on Rockets Twitter. They think he's the next Kobe Bryant or Devin Booker or something. That's how I feel like he gets raved up a lot. Honestly, my goodness, you're on Twitter and you bring up Armani Brooks in any sort of fashion, you get 100 retweets. That dude, my God, people are so high on him. I mean,
that's my guy.
We'll see what happens. I guess it's a U of H thing, but Armani Brooks can shoot the basketball. But I'm just guessing. Please, guys, don't attack me. YouTube comments are probably gonna attack me. Twitter, we're probably gonna have Doc or somebody's aggregating and say, "Oh, Alykhan says Armani Brooks is the next Kobe Bryant." It's probably gonna happen. That's not what I'm saying. No. For example, I just wanted to mention Armani. I really like Armani as a player. I think he's a good shooter, and the fact that he spent time in that system, he got to understand how they want to play, what the principles are, when he's supposed to take a shot, what he's supposed to do defensively. If you go back and watch the bubble games, you watch Mahmoud or Coach Abdel Fattah, put up signals, very similar things to what the Rockets do here. I don't want to say it because you guys can figure it out if you watch it. they did this. I mean, they have different signs for different things, but if you watch the game, you'll figure it out. Those very similar things are across the NBA, but the reason I bring that up, even though these are very similar concepts across the league, is that because it allows you to be able to have that comfort level, that understanding of what it means to play in the Rocket-specific system. What are the responsibilities? When you come up here and you're Anthony Lamb and you're playing as the 3 or the 4, it's different responsibilities when you're playing in the G League and you're playing zone or switch everything. You have to be able to understand things, but at least if you're comfortable with the terminology, with the concepts, you have a chance to put yourself in a position to be successful. And that's exactly what the Rockets do in their G League team. It allows the players to number one find out more about themselves, what they're good at. It allows a team to find out what their strengths are. And then those G League coaches, not just Mahmoud, but their assistants in the G League as well, work individually with these guys to make sure they're always watching film. They're always breaking out what they can do to get better. And I think it's a great way to have a foundation. Even the Rockets in their actual in Houston, the coaching staffs are each assigned a specific position, and they work with individual players. A lot of guys, a lot of fans love the way Jae'Sean has played. You have to give a lot of credit to Will Weaver. Will Weaver, not only because he coached him, but Will Weaver worked with him individually during the season before every game, sat down with Jae'Sean. They watched film. They understood what his role was going to be that night, every single night. Sagana Job. I mean, there's a lot of different guys I can name. But, having young guys be under those assistant coaches and have a chance to watch film and grow, it doesn't matter if in the G League or in the NBA. And the fact that Garuba will probably get more playing time in the G League should be viewed as a positive thing.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And again, listen to the guy with 25,000 followers if you don't want to listen to the guy with less than that. So with that, Alykhan, always a pleasure to have you on the show. I'm excited to be able to dive into these other prospects with you a little bit further down the line as we are ramping up. We are less than 50 calendar days away from the NBA season. We will have a media day, a Rockets media day later this month. It's kind of flying by, isn't it, man? Are you excited? I don't get any words. I just get a nod.
I'm excited.
The poor podcast listeners are like, "What's going on? Did the audio cut out?" It's just I'm excited. YouTube, okay.
It'll be whenever basketball's on TV. It's always a good time. So
yeah, I've joked before, and I'll say it again that I feel like I have like seasonal affective disorder, but with like basketball season, like when we're in the off season, obviously there's still a lot of stuff going on. It's fun. There's content, sure. But I'm just a happier person in general when there's basketball around. Like when I can turn on the TV on any given night and catch a really good game. I love that. So I know you do
You know
too.
what we should do in the meantime, since we have 50 calendar days, we should have a one-on-one game between me and you. I think the Locked On people want to see that.
That would absolutely break the Twitter sphere. Also, I don't think you could handle getting crossed up by me and getting dropped on a basketball court. So I'm just going to put that out there. But with that, Alykhan, always a pleasure.
You notice I'm not talking any mess. I'm just letting you say what you want to say.
That's okay. I'm talking plenty of mess. I'm talking enough mess for the two of us, okay? I just finished a conversation with Vernon Maxwell, so some of that trash talk kind of just rubbed off, right? Like just the swagger, the mentality, all that. With that, that's going to do it for today's episode. Alykhan, always a pleasure. Appreciate you stopping by. And hopefully I won't have to, hunt you down this time, okay? We're going to get you back.
You got to play the game, bro. It's like I Spy when we were kids. You got to find me in the book. So.
All right. Well, hopefully we can spy him again next week. But for today's episode, that's going to do it. As always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And we look forward to having you back right here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball.
Thank you.